In this video, I'm going to be showing you two of my favourite rigs to catch a variety of species off from a pier. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
So for my session this evening, I've come down to a local pier. Now my target for the session is to catch a variety of species using two different rigs. On one rig, I'll be using smaller hooks and smaller baits to target some smaller species like pouting and mackerel. And on my other rig, I'll be using much bigger baits and with much bigger hooks to target species with much bigger mouths and hopefully grow a lot bigger too, such as bass, huss, and if I'm lucky, a ray. Right now I'm going to get set up and I'll show you exactly how I set up my rigs, what baits I'm using and where I'll be fishing. Now, as well as using different rigs with different baits to target different species, I'm also going to be using different rods with different reels with different types of line on there as well. My setup for targeting the smaller species is much more sensitive. The rod I'm using is a Gorilla Flatty GT 1 to 3 ounce casting weight rod. This is a lovely lightweight tip which is great for noticing those subtle bites from the smaller species. The reel I'm using alongside that is a Penn Tidal XT 7000 reel. On there I've got some braid. Now the reason I'm using braid over mono for this setup is that braid has zero stretch compared to mono, which means I'm going to see every little subtle bite even from the smallest of fish. It's going to give me greater bite indication, whereas mono with that stretch might mean that I miss some opportunities to strike. Whereas for my other setup where I'm fishing bigger hooks with bigger baits to try and catch those bigger fish, I'm using a much heavier setup. For this I'm using a Penn Tidal surf casting rod, and this has a 3 to 6 ounce casting weight. I've paired that with an Akuma Surf 8000 reel, and on there I've got some 25-pound mono. Now as I'm fishing for the bigger species, they're going to be hitting my baits a lot harder, so it's going to be a lot easier to spot those bites, so I don't need that braid for that subtle indication. Right, let's take a quick look at my first setup, which is targeting the biggest species. Now, by my thumb here, I've got a 30-pound leader material that goes off my 25-pound mono. Then I've got a snap swivel. The reason I use that is so I can quickly change my rig if I want to, whether I'm just reeling in, changing baits, or I catch a fish. Rather than faffing around and wasting time, I have my next rig ready to go, unclip it, pop the next one on, and get it back out there straight away. So I've clipped that on with a swivel and then my rig follows. I've got about 2 foot of a nice strong 50-pound mono material. Along there I've got a red clip that is free to run up and down. My lead attaches to that clip. So that means that the line can pull through the lead without causing any resistance, which I find particularly good when targeting rays, because often they'll pick up your bait, they'll nibble at it, and if they feel a bit too much resistance, they're likely to drop it. So by having that running along, a bit like when I'm pike fishing, causes less resistance, and that's free to run up and down that section there. Now at the end of that nice strong 50-pound mono, I've got a bead and a swivel. Then off that swivel, I've got my hook link. So that's a 20-pound hook link. Again, that's mono. Again, it's about 2 foot long. Now down at the bait end, I've got a pennel set up, which basically means I'm using 2 hooks, one at each end of the bait. Now nice big hooks for nice big fish, so nice big strong hooks. And to start with, I'm fishing half of a Spanish mackerel, which is basically like a Joey mackerel. It's the only mackerel they had in stock at my local tackle shop at the time. Now I've got a couple of packs of these Spanish mackerel, so if I'm getting pestered by some smaller fish, I'll ditch the half bait and go to a full bait. Just got a little bit of bait elastic on there to keep the hooks in place, and as you can see they're nice and proud, so as soon as the fish tries to take that, they're getting pricked by the hook, and hopefully it hooks them first time. What you don't want to do is mash that hook in any way into the bait. So that's the setup for the bigger fish. Cast that out there and see if we can get one straight away. Now it's bang on 6 o'clock, which happens to be bang on high tide. So for the next hour, I've got some slack water and the tide's going to start drifting out. Although generally I like to fish the upcoming tide, I'm not particularly worried, because what will happen is the fish that have gone further upstream will come back in towards this direction as the tide goes out. So we're going to hopefully pick up those fish as they come through. Now for my session this evening, I'll be fishing two slightly different areas of water. To my left hand side here, it shallows up. It goes in towards the beach, so that's going to lose the water first and is generally a bit shallower. And to my right, it goes out into more open water where the boats are. That's obviously going to be a bit deeper. Now I'm going to start with my bigger bait, my running rig, out into that deeper water. And I'm going to have my bream rig for the smaller baits and the smaller hooks out just in front of me. When I fished here in the past on previous sessions, I have found that that's the way it's caught me the most fish. So I'll start that way. I can always swap it over if nothing happens after half an hour to an hour. Oh yeah. Yeah. So it hasn't taken long for the first fish of the session. Nice to get a quick bite, but hopefully I'm not going to get plagued by these all evening. I'll pop it back and I'll show you the rig I caught it on. Right, so let's take a look at the setup that caught me that little pouting. Now this is effectively a 2-hook flapper, but most of these components are from a pre-tie rig I bought from a guy called the Shore Hunter. He sells his own rigs, he's got his own YouTube channel. Go check them out, they're probably the best pre-tie rigs I've bought. So I do like using them, and even when the hook lengths go, I can still use all the other components to make the rigs again. So yeah, money well spent there. Let's have a quick look at it. So again, by my thumb here, I've got a 20-pound leader, and that goes onto my braided main line. Like I say, I'm using braid to make sure I see all those small indications from those smaller fish. But I do want a little bit of stretch towards where the hooks are. And that's because if I have no stretch at all, the fish are more likely to bump themselves off the hook. So from my leader, again, I've got a snap swivel. Same reasons, I can quickly change my rig if I want to. Now coming down from there, you've got your mono, you've got a bead, a swivel and another bead. Coming off that swivel, I've got my hook and my bait, this time a little bit of squid. Again, you can see my hook is nice and proud. Now what separates this from a standard flapper rig is this little spring here. Okay, so from that bead and between the bead by my thumb here is a little spring. Now the purpose of that spring is to protect your hook bait from the cast. Now especially if you're using soft baits like ragworm, lugworm, what can happen, especially on a long cast, is that impact when it hits the water, the bait can come straight off your hook. So you're fishing with no bait, which is obviously no good at all. So that spring just helps cushion the blow of the cast. Coming down from there, got about a foot of mono again. Same idea, you've got some beads with a swivel in between. You'll notice that there's no spring this time. I'll show you why in a second. Again, I've got a bit of squid coming off that swivel via my hook link. And I'm also using a couple of floating beads on there. I am in a harbour, there's likely to be lots of crabs around, so I just want to try and pop that off the bottom a little bit to try and avoid the crabs. Now, I mentioned there's no spring on that bottom part of the rig, and that's because I've got this little plastic hook here that my lead attaches to. As you can see there, my hook goes into the hook of the plastic bit, and what happens when you cast out, as that hits the water, it's going to push that up and release your bait. Okay, so that's another way of protecting your bait on the cast. It also makes it more streamlined so you can cast further. Not that I'm casting very far this evening, but I do like these rigs. They have caught me some nice fish in recent sessions, so I've got good confidence in them, so I'm going to continue to use them. As you can see, I'm using really small hooks on these rigs. I'm using small baits as well. The fish I'm targeting, like the mackerel, pouting, possibly whiting, they've got small mouths, so if I'm using a massive hook, they're not going to get that hook inside their mouth. So by using small hooks, I'm more likely to hook into those fish. That's not to say I'm not going to catch big fish on these as well. The good thing about these is they're going to catch anything that takes a fancy to that bait. Again, just make sure your hook points are nice and proud so the fish I'm going to grab that and hopefully get hooked first time. I kept recasting regularly, checking the baits hadn't been demolished by the crabs. It wasn't long until my rod was nearly pulled in after a very strong bite. Which one? Was it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
You got that mate? I don't know if it's still on or not.
That's on.
Yeah, it's on. That is on. It's not really like head banging. Doggy maybe? Yeah, it's a good bite though, isn't it? Eel? It's a good eel, I think.
Oh, that's a nice eel.
Yeah, so I'll hold the rod and I'll grab the line. Actually, you got head torch on, so yeah, don't mind. Yeah. That's a nice eel. I think that's a PB eel, you know?
Yeah, well, look at that. He's yours, I don't think it's long. That's a nice eel though, mate.
That's a PB eel. Yeah, look at him. Right, it didn't take long. A few nibbles on the bream rig. Then all of a sudden, my running ledger pulled over, nearly pulled the rod over the stand, and I couldn't quite work out what it was. So I've gone and landed a PB eel. I'm not going to bother weighing him, but so it's got to be a good £3, £4, I think. And yeah, that took the half Spanish mackerel hook bait. See, he's got a nice big mouth to grab that. Luckily, the hook was in the top of his lip, so he came out nice and easy. And yeah, being a bit of a bigger eel, he's actually behaving himself, trying to jinx it quite nicely. But yeah, it's got to be probably almost a metre long, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, happy with that, especially so well into the session. We'll try and get a photo or two and then we'll get him back. After releasing the eel, the bites kept coming, but mainly from the lighter setup, and the fish were just too small to hook. But it wasn't long until something found my bigger bait again. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Fish on.
Fish on. Fish on.
Fish on. I reckon it might be another eel. That's an eel, I think. You see it?
No, that's a really nice pass.
It's not a hass.
Yeah, it is. That's a nice pass. Wow.
Really?
Yeah, it's £15.
We can walk it round to the jetty.
Look at it.
Oh wow!
That's good. That's good. £4, £5. Nice pass.
Look at him. Right, second fish on the running ledger setup, and the second PB of the night. We're going to weigh this one. I reckon it might be coming up to £10. Absolutely beautiful husk on that Spanish mackerel again. It's been quite quiet, and then it wasn't a big bite actually. It's a few taps. I thought it was another eel that came in, and we had to walk him round to the pontoon to get him up. But yeah, look at the pattern on him. A real fat head. You can see we've got hooks in the side of the mouth there. But he'll recover from that. Look at the size of that mouth. Oh, I'm chuffed with that. £11 husk PB. Out of the water a little while now, so I'm gonna get him back. I've got a wet leg anywhere, just fell in the water. So we might as well get down and hold him for a little bit. Let him recover. Get him in the water, look at that. Beautiful. He's kicking. He's ready. Off we go.
How are you feeling, Chris?
Oh, I've got a really wet leg because I took a little slip. But it's worth it for that.
That was cool.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, buzzing.
Excellent.
Oh.
No.
At least it's not cold tonight. Look at that.
Oh yeah, at least it's not freezing cold.
Oh. So, after releasing my PB Huss and trying to dry off, the bite slowed down as the tide continued to go out. Nate did manage to catch a huss of his own, but that was the last of the action. Right guys, that is the end of the session. I'm all packed away, back in the car, ready to head home. And what an eventful session it turned out to be. It started off really well, caught a small pouting fairly early on the bream rig, fishing small bits of squid using those small hooks. And I was getting lots of little bites throughout the session on that rod, but unfortunately no more fish on there. I think there's lots of little pouting and small fish around. And although I was using those small hooks and small baits, obviously not small enough, or the fish were too small to get hooked. Nonetheless, I soon had some action on my other rods, fishing those bits of Spanish mackerel on those larger hooks. First fish was that lovely eel, definitely the biggest eel I've ever caught. Didn't weigh it, but I reckon it was a good 4 or 5 pounds. It gave a good scrap on the way in. It then went a bit quiet, had lots of little bites on the bream rig, but despite fishing those small hooks and small bits of squid, I think the fish were just too small to take those baits in. I reckon they're probably even smaller pouting than the one I caught. About an hour towards the end though, I did get my second fish of the evening. It was another PB, my biggest ever huss, weighing 11 pounds. I thought it was an eel, again on the way in, the way it was fighting. I could see it was quite a long fish, but then as Nate helped me get it back in, he said, no, it's a huss. We had to walk it round to the pontoon to try and lift it out because it was been too heavy to lift off the side of the pier there. And yeah, that was on, again, Spanish mackerel using the pennel setup, 2 nice big hooks. As ever with me, couldn't go without a little incident. And yeah, I accidentally slipped off one of the steps and got my leg absolutely soaking wet. But full of adrenaline, didn't get cold luckily. And yeah, really enjoyed the session. So hopefully you've enjoyed watching. Hopefully you've seen that the 2 rigs I've used today, that running ledger setup using the bigger baits and bigger hooks, and the bream rig with the smaller hooks and smaller baits, both proved pretty successful off the pier. At this time of year when it's nice and quiet, I do really enjoy fishing these pier marks. So they're nice and quiet and the action can be pretty good. So that's me done for this session. Thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video and can take something away from it. If nothing else, even on a cold winter's day or evening, get yourselves out there, get a few hours fishing in. You never know what you might catch. But yeah, unless you get out there, you're not going to catch any fish. So find that motivation, get yourselves out there, even if it's just for a couple of hours. As always, thank you much for your ongoing support, for your likes, your comments, and for everyone who's subscribing to the channel and helped making it grow. Until next time, I'll catch you guys again soon.